Our guest this episode is Lisa Bragg, a strategic visibility expert, speaker, and author of Bragging Rights. She helps organizations and associations unlock 1.8 trillion in lost productivity caused by the success recognition gap that limits engagement, drives talent flight, and weakens professional growth. Through her global research and practical frameworks, Lisa shows how surfacing hidden expertise can turn passive participation into active contribution and transform everyday interactions into opportunities for visibility, trust, and meaningful engagement. This is engaging personalities, after all. She's here to discuss how strategic visibility fuels engagement. Please welcome to the podcast, Lisa Bragg.
Welcome to the Engaging Personalities Podcast. I'm Anders Belanger, founder and CEO of Engagify, where we're on a mission to rehumanize business through engagement. We believe that we can all be more successful if we can command attention and deepen connection. So stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest on a future episode. So let's get ready to engage.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to get into this with you and all of your thinking too. So let's do a head-to-head on this one.
Yeah, I know, and it's so and just for background, we know of each other, but we don't really know each other because we're both in Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, which is like National Speakers Association of Canada for our US listeners. And so we're in a Facebook group together. We've been at convention together, but I don't know if we've ever rubbed shoulders specifically though.
Well, I'm just going to let you in. I did go to a convention, but I'm not a member still. So I just, you know what? I have to really watch and consider where I put my effort and time. And I think I'm always assessing where before I would stay a member of something for so long.
Yeah.
And now I'm constantly assessing and reassessing where I am. So I'm not saying never, but for right now, I'm not.
Okay, well, you fooled me. It's good. Okay, so let's kind of just start at the start, and then we'll kind of really get into it. What's your background? How did you get to where you are now in terms of being a speaker and author, talking about the Bragging Rights book and everything that's in it? So let's rewind and tell us how you got here.
Yeah, so the rewind would actually go way back, but my last name is truly Bragg. So this is marketing gold.
This is one of my questions that I've been holding back, but I was just like, sorry, I'm jumping in, I'm interrupting you. I apologize. But I'm like, did that obviously direct you? I mean, like, that you're born with that name, or was that a married name?
No, I was born with that name, so I've carried it with me. And so that's why I think it has more energy, I really was burdened by the name when I was really young. And when I went into broadcast journalism, which I'll get into in a second, I thought about changing it because it's brag. And I'd get, oh, you're going to brag about that? Because I was one of those students who, I always wanted to achieve and get the honor roll and things like that. So I'd get that kind of attitude, like, are you going to brag about it? So I realized really young that our last names mattered, but I also realized that our success matters to other people. And so when they see you succeeding, oh, well, who do you think you are, kind of thing. That was a lot of what I grew up with. But I went into broadcasting and thought I should change my name, but didn't. But realized through broadcasting that so many people who deserve to be seen and heard shy away from the opportunity. And so it made me really curious back then and frustrated because I'd go up to people and say, you're the expert, let me interview you. Oh, no, go down the hall to somebody else. And then I started one of Canada's first content companies. So video animation, e-learning, getting people online through this kind of thing way back in the day. And again, realized it in the corporate setting when I was interviewing people and talking to the executives in charge of any of the initiatives. And they'd say, Lisa, can you help me get the success that I'm seeing when you put our subject matter experts out there? They're getting all these opportunities. My team's just just telling me, get on social media. And it's like, you know what? There's a disconnect. So yes, being seen and being heard is really vital to all of our careers and our future. But people getting just on social media isn't the cure for most of us. So it is, and it isn't. So there's some behind the scenes work that we need to do before we just say, get on social media for a cure all for our future. So that was a bit of my journey right there encapsulated. But I really realized that there was a book in me and I wanted to make sure that anyone can get some of my foundational ideas to help them be seen and heard, help their teams be seen and heard, and their organizations.
Yeah. Wow. It's so much in there. And I mean, it's this idea of this hidden expertise, that we talked about in the intro. And I guess owning it too, right? Like, is that like huge mindset thing in there? There's a huge, I don't know if we want to say like self-esteem or confidence, like, almost the opposite of imposter syndrome in many ways, right? Like, that's something you probably come across, talk about, imposter syndrome, and how do we shift our head or get our head around this idea of owning what we're good at and repping that.
I think a lot of it comes down to we were never really taught to do these things. And it's because for a long time, nobody needed to do it. Like, we didn't need to talk about our successes the way we have to now, back in the day when we were all on the farm or we were all working at the same industry for 45 years for your whole life, you know? And now we're all over the place. So we may never actually come into the same room, but we're all working with each other in different ways. And so, how do you make sure that people know that you are the best person for this opportunity when we don't know you and maybe we don't even know the concentric circles around you? Like, so how do we know? And so that's where we have to be able to talk about our successes and our strengths and let people know. I would love it if people would find me on my tiny piece of the internet and say, Lisa, all day long, hire her. Let's bring her in. Let's let her talk about whatever she wants. But that's not the reality. I need to be out there and being seen and being heard. But it's not necessarily that I'm trying to, well, here's one thing. It's not about broadcasting, it's about narrowcasting, right? So a lot of us broadcast, think that we need to be on all the socials. Let's do the latest TikTok, whatever it is. But what most of us need is to narrowcast, really find those people that we need to talk to. And it might be just one person, and that's it. So a lot of it is not about, and a lot of people think it's an ego thing. It's not about ego, it's about clarity and realizing that the more clear we are to communicate our value to the world, the more opportunities will come to us.
Mm. And so where personal brand, like, let's kind of talk about that, because that's what kind of comes up for me when I'm hearing you talk about this, your personal brand. But is that more of a broadcast? Is that more of a, or how do you reconcile that? What's that? Or maybe you could share with us, Lisa, I'm all over the place, so you got to like focus me here. What what is a framework that we can kind of talk about a little bit, just to kind of give our listeners a better sense and allow me to kind of make sense of this too, as we kind of dig into your expertise, which is
Yeah.
like very meta when we talk about that.
Yeah. So I think one of the first relief points I'll give people is I don't call it a personal brand, I call it your professional brand. And I think we're all in theater all the time. I think how you show up on, this kind of medium versus how you show up to, soccer at your own soccer game. You're showing up in different ways because we are multifaceted people. So I call it your professional brand just to make sure that people don't think that they have to start showing that they still continue to make sourdough bread or that they're, showing us their breakfast kind of thing. So I hope that's some relief. But at the end of this all, if this works, what I'm trying to instill in so many people across the world is that I would love for the opportunities to just come to you. That so many people know about you, or the most strategic people know about you, so that they can then say, let's hire that person. And so to do that, to help people to be able to get that far away from us, we have to start the flywheel going by understanding our own values, what do we believe, and where do we want to go. And by when we start with those things, what do I believe, what are my values, and where do I want to go, that is the very beginning of then saying that end person then saying, hey, you know what, we're in this country, we never met her before, but we're going to hire Lisa to do these things. And so that's the starting point, is really getting clear on what you want to stand for. And then where do you want to go? We always market to where we want to go. A lot of us are concerned about our reputations, and that's valid, but your reputation is probably solid. So don't worry about the past, because your reputation is the past. We want to think about marketing to where we want to go, because that is the future. So is that
Yeah, it's
enough?
kind
There's
of,
so many frameworks in my book and so many things that we could anchor on, and
yeah.
I'm I
No,
often
that's
give away a
interesting.
lot.
But that's like leading and lagging, right? Where we want to go, the leading and the lagging, our reputation follows us wherever we go, right? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
So you had mentioned ego before, and now, and this is where I'm gonna kind of, we already, mentioned that we're Canadian, and there is this, like, differences culturally in different geographical places. What is appropriate? What is really bragging, and maybe not, or maybe not. People might look at it in a different way or in a negative way. I'm just trying to kind of
Yeah.
tiptoe around this, right? So, when you say it's not part of the ego, how do you kind of disassociate that ego from it and do this in a way, and I'm going to guess it comes back to the values and then pieces that you already spoke to, but how do we do this in a way that we don't look like we're just trying to stroke our own ego, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's all about me all the time, right? That's the way it comes across. It's interesting because I was really worried that this was going to be, I know, a white Canadian woman's, and I'm in Toronto, which is like, and it's Canada is one big place, but Toronto is also its own little
Yeah.
um, egocentric issue. But did I think it was going to be this white Canadian woman's issue? And what I realized really quickly is that it's not. It's actually a global issue. I talked to people in 23 different countries and had more than 400 people respond to my research survey and understood what bragging and self-promotion and what it meant to their lives and their careers. And it was fascinating because so many of us think that, Americans are really good at it. And we get this perception that they are. And that's what almost every other country they thought, oh, Americans are so good at it, but not everyone. And that's the thing. It actually gets down to the intersectionality of it all. And so, living in Winnipeg or Toronto or in New York, you might also have, I met this woman in New York actually, who well coiffed on all the boards. And I said her the premise of my book, we're so often taught, put your head down, do good work, and eventually someone will notice you. And then I said, and that probably doesn't apply to you. And she said to me, Lisa, this totally applies to me because I'm Catholic. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. So there's so many elements to it that we don't think of. Scandinavian people have Janteloven. And so that's a rule, 10 rules that are set out is based on a fictional novel, but they ingrained it into their life for so long of, you know, who do you think you are? You can't teach us anything and so on and so forth. So many people are taught to play small, be that hidden gem, and not put themselves out there. So it's not just us. It's so wide. It's so many people. And I just did an event where there was 45 different bankers brought together in a room, and these are very senior people. And so when I saw all of them, I was like, okay, is this going to apply to them? What are they going to think?
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked them, because I have a stat in from my research, 85% of us feel uncomfortable with bragging and self-promotion. So I asked them, so who in this room feels that they're on, the 15% that you feel comfortable and confident with it? And only one person who sat right in front of me put up his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was shocked because I, just looking at the audience, had a bias because it was in the US. Even though I had done all this research, I still had this bias that more people would feel comfortable and confident because they were in such senior executive roles in
Right.
a very competitive market. And then I flipped it, and then we had a big conversation about it because it's not just the bias, it was a whole unpacking of it. So anyway,
Wow.
that's a long
No,
explanation
that's
of
great. Like
it.
that opens up so many things for me. Like one of them that comes up for me is that when I first started doing the trade show infotaining that we do, I did some stuff in Canada, and of course that was convenient and close and everything. And there were some companies who didn't want that kind of attention, meaning they didn't want people stopping at their trade show booth. And I'm like, what? like that boggled my mind. And then so 99% of our business is US based because marketing, they go for it. They swing for the fences, that sort of thing. So that's on a company basis. So that's not maybe, you know, on an individual side of things, right? But yeah, you mentioned the, you know, the different cultural pieces too. Like, yeah, I think Canadians, we have this UK, we have this, you know, whatever roots where we need to, you know, put ourselves down a little bit, or again, the lobster in the pot, or the, you know, tallest poppy thing that
Yeah.
happens. And I hear my dad's voice sometimes, you know, where you're like, hey, don't get too big for your britches, right? And so, you know, is that serving us, right? Like, I mean, I guess there's times, yeah, you could kind of get out of hand. I do something similar in our trainings, that we talk about the boring to annoying dichotomy or line. And this idea that when we're trying to be engaging, we're trying to capture attention, most of us fall towards the boring side of that, you know, of those poles. We're too afraid to be on that bolder side, and boulder is probably better than boring, in a sense, but going way over the top. But when we are actually perceived, what we think is over the top is actually perceived as something as good, right? And so, just like your example with all the people and only one person put up their hand, right? Everyone kind of feels safer to not push, right? Or to not put themselves out there. I think, you know, it's protection, isn't it?
I, I really like that line though, where you're saying from, you know, boring to bold. That's really good. That's gold. We need to write something together on that, because that's the thing. So many of us think I should be quiet, be that hidden gem. Eventually someone will notice me. But the reality is everyone's too busy doing their own thing. And you need to be seen and be heard so that you're going to get the opportunities that you already deserve. So there's that. A lot of it comes down to context though. And I know we keep bringing up the Canadian thing. So, but it's context based, especially when we're out on, you know, doing something where we're at a booth and we want to make sure that people are seeing us. Like that is in that context, you need to have your sales hat on. I was at IMEX, which I'm sure your audience
Mm-hmm.
is already familiar with,
Yeah.
because I spoke to the group, I spoke to ELX as part of it, Event Leaders Exchange, and just such a fabulous event to go to, because the intention there is that you're going to go and make relationships to eventually either help or sell or do something with each other. It's that connective piece. That's why we've all come here. So when you go there and you think, well, I'm just going to stand here and hide behind my booth, and you know, like
Mm-hmm.
your body is showing the whole thing that you're not there, then you're not doing anything, you're not doing anyone service. And if you're on the mindset of, well, if I stand boldly and stand and really talk about my success, the success of my team, or the success of my organizations, well, who do they think they are? You're not in context with the rest of the event. And so that's where a lot of it comes into. Are you in context? So what we say maybe locally and in a small way to our friends and family is different than what we say when we're on the trade floor or we're out doing our thing. Like it's all context based. You can talk about making $1 million, $1 billion deals when you're amongst those people. But then to your family, it's like a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
who do you think you
Yeah.
are? And so that's where
Right.
context really comes into the whole, are you being bold to annoying phase? I think that's what, no, boring
Mm-hmm.
to annoying, you said, right? Boring to
Yeah.
bold. We'll make it
Yeah.
boring to bold for us. But that's
Yeah.
where are you is context based. Because if you're talking to the right people, they need to hear that you know what you're talking about and that you have had success before and that you can make the connections for them to see their future successes because of you.
Yeah. Wow. Um, okay. You know, what's coming up for me is sometimes I think sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to do something. And I see you as kind of this permission granter, you know, when you go speak, you know, people go, oh, geez, I didn't realize that. Um, Other than you granting permission and them granting permission for themselves, what are some things that they can do to kind of slowly go down this road, you know, comfortably, so that they can realize some of these benefits of really being seen and being heard?
It's so funny because I have a magic wand when I do some of the events that I don't know if you can see it. It's way
Yeah,
back there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it lights up on the whole thing because people feel like they need to have permission. A lot of people feel that they don't even have the permission to call themselves a leader. And, we have
Mm,
leaders, we have experts, and we have visionaries, right? When we think of where do I stand this? Am I leading something? Am I the expert in something? Am I the visionary in it? So that's, people need to have that permission. Who am I going to call myself an expert? Who do I think I am? And who else is going to call you that? Like you're waiting for Forbes or Inc. or someone else to
mm,
HBR to call you that. So you have to start. You can't just be somebody who's reading, something and all of a sudden I'm an expert in it. No, you have to actually have some experience in it. But I think the first way to start bragging and self-promoting is to brag to yourself first. So bragging means to talk about one's success with pride. And my reframe is that pride also means justified self-love. So we
mm.
need to start collecting all those things along the way. When someone says, "Hey, Anders, you did a great job on this," write that down. And even when you don't get it, but you overcame something because your past or all the challenges with getting it done, maybe you had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get over the hurdle. Give yourself a little note on it. And I'm not asking you to journal. What I'm asking you to do is just start to keep, whenever you get a kudos, keep it. We so often forget that we've done a good job. We're on to that next thing. And so we're not able to look back and say, here's all the awesome things I did in this year or in this week. And when we look back, if we have this, we can say, oh, there's a red thread here. There's something about this that I really am good at this, or there's something that I'm really passionate about. Maybe that's going to help inform my future. So brag to yourself first would be would be the absolutely first thing I would do. And then just start with saying in the right context, you could say things like bragitude. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I did not make that up. Somebody else did, but I
Aw.
add an extra G just for more goodness. So bragitude. And what a bragitude is bragging plus gratitude. And we put those two together,
Mm,
that's gold. And then people don't even think anything like there's not like, who do you think you are with that? So a brag is, I went to New York and talked to these 45 executive bankers. Like that's, you know, but I'm really thankful for the client to have the faith to know that I would deliver the message that she wanted to. So in there, some people would think, well, who does she think she is? She's, talking to these executives, she's gone to New York. So
mhm.
it depends on what your own, as the listener, what your own bias and negativity is. Like some people think, yes, so what? She's a speaker. That's what she's supposed to do. So that's why so much of it is context based. So when we add a thank you to it, then people say, oh, she's being grateful, and that's where people accept your brag, especially as you're just starting out, and also when it's context, you're concerned about the context.
Right, right. One of the things you were saying about the self, the self bragging, um, it makes me think. I have testimonials from going way back as being a magician, a speaker, all this, and I know that when I've had bad days, I'll sometimes read my own testimonials, which sounds hilarious, but it's like that kind of like, wow, that's like a real pick me up, right? And so I didn't have to make those for myself. I did have to ask for them, and you
Yeah.
kind of have to be a little. And I'm gonna use the word shameless in quotes here, just in this sense. But like as an entrepreneur, you're starting out when I've never worked for anyone else since I was like 18 years old. So that kind of idea of like, if you're not going to promote yourself, no one else will, right? When that's how you get booked or that's how you get your work. And I think, bringing that attitude into where you do have a salary, you are hired by someone, that sense of hustle and what, shameless self-promotion is that term that's thrown around. But a little of that is, and done in the ways that you're suggesting, is what we need, right? And yeah.
Absolutely, because that's the way you're going to have success and feed your family at the end of the day. And think about it this way, back a long time ago, we would have our family singing our praises and people around us. Maybe you'd even have your colleagues, but a lot of people are entrepreneurs right now. And so that you don't have necessarily your colleagues right around saying, hey, I see you're down, but remember all these awesome things that you did. You have to have that self-care to brag to yourself, but then also going and ask for those testimonials. It's gold. You can also see then from that gold, what did they really value about my experience? And also you're warming them up to be your brand ambassadors, because that's the most important thing. When we have brand ambassadors, they're going to tell people that we haven't even heard of. So this goes back to one of my initial comments. When we have brand ambassadors, people who are willing to talk about us because they've given us a testimonial, then that person that we don't know, but they might know, finds out about us and recommends us to someone else. Like that's the gold, when you can get your circles bigger and bigger, get the flywheel going by feeling confident and having some courage to talk about your own successes, to then asking people who know you to give you testimonials, to then strangers inviting you to opportunities you didn't even know about. Like that's what I really want for people. And I've laid it out that it's the teaching is not just for the individuals. It's really, as leaders, how do we help our teams? How do we help the people that we care about? And then also how do I help organizations? So that's a lot of the work that I do, because there's so many layers to all of this, and there's so much loss that I'm uncovering through new research of when people don't talk about their successes. The loss to the US is $2 trillion. Like that's because people are afraid to talk about their successes and to share their innovative ideas. That's huge. And so if we think about it for Canadians, 10%, right? Like that's still a huge number of what's lost. And so I also hate it when people go to that mediocre person instead of going to those awesome people, because a lot of those awesome people aren't bragging and self-promoting yet.
Right. Yeah. When I did the introduction and this, the like you said, 1.8 or 2 trillion lost in productivity, but that idea of untried ideas, like there's no greater waste than untried ideas. And if people aren't confident enough to bring that up and to toot their own horn of what they've thought of or done, yeah, man, that's super costly. And to be able to put a number on it through your research is amazing. So
Well, that one's not through my research. I actually
okay.
piggybacked on Gallup for that.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
that's from Gallup. And that's the number changed because it's 2025 information now. So that's
Gotcha.
where it's growing, that there's this disengagement. And so if you can take, if you put yourself out there just in the smallest way, more opportunities will come to you. And so that's what I want more and more of us to grab on, because most of the people who are attracted to my work are those people who want to give to the world. And so that's where I just want all of us to get those opportunities that we already deserve without burnout. I think that's the thing, because we all think, oh, your work should speak for itself. Like that's still put out there on social media by even some famous Wharton professors. And it's like your work, if you're not in the right circles already, your work can't speak for itself.
Yeah.
And so that's where we have to really give the voice to our work and our mission and vision and values.
Yeah. There's something that came up for me a little bit ago that I wanted to go, and this is my own filters and this is my own stuff, I think, is that like, can you call yourself a visionary? Like that's one of those things, like, or like it sounds like genius too. I feel like there's certain titles need to be bestowed upon you. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Lisa?
Let me bestow that, because of so who's the grand empress who's going to bestow these things? I guess if you went to like Thinker 50, where, that's a big event where people who are in change management and in a lot of the what we do. So so are they the ones? But who's nominating themselves then, right? Like you have to nominate yourself, first of all, to be bestowed one of these titles. But who's the grand poobah of giving you the title? So a visionary, though, you have to make sure you meet the definition. Otherwise, you look like an imbecile. So you have to make sure that you meet the definitions of these things. So are you a leader? Do you have ideas that you've taken from a whole bunch of different people? Are you the expert because you've then added some thinking on it? Or are you a visionary and you can see around corners and see what the next thing is? And so, we do travel a little bit up cringe mountain for some of these things, but, I wouldn't call myself a guru ninja kind of stuff, which I think is actually politically incorrect now, but I wouldn't call myself some of those things. Those aren't my kind of titles to bestow on myself, but I would call myself a visionary. I do see around corners, and I do see what's happening next. And I am often ahead of the trends. And I'm putting a big mantle on my shoulders by saying that. But I know that I am coming up with these ideas. I am making things happen. And
Right.
so if you're that person, then you should be in the visionary category with
Hmm.
me. Maybe you're in the expert category because you are pulling ideas and making your own thoughts on it. Or maybe you're a leader because you're a knowledge broker. You're taking other people's ideas and regurgitating it, which doesn't sound like the right word, but you're giving it out to the world. So you're, brokering the knowledge mobilization. So those are some of the ways I define it, that there are the opportunities. A lot of people stay in, oh, I'm just a leader. Well, do I want a leader to come and speak to my people, or do I want that visionary?
Right.
So it's, are you making up your own things like right from the genesis,
Hmm.
or are you, and it's okay to be any of those things, is just getting clear on that, but then allowing yourself to graduate into that next level where you really are that visionary. Can I bestow visionary on you right now?
Please do. And make sure this goes out. We'll really push this out. This will be the clip that goes on LinkedIn. I'm a visionary now. No, thank you for that. But I think there's something you said there where you got to live up to it.
You do.
And if you put that on yourself, how are you going to make different decisions? How are you going to take action? How are you going to use that pressure to then move in that direction? And that idea of fake it till you make it. I don't know. Is that, like, what do you think about that? Like, that just came up right now. And I mean, some people might say that, like, what are your thoughts?
I just think the fake it till you make it has been so overdone that there's so many fakes, right? I know we're so worried about imposter syndrome and things like that. So I talk about imposter syndrome
Yeah.
as, we're on a journey because we're now, most of us aren't doing the same things we were doing 2 years ago. If you are in the same job, or if you are on the same path, things have changed no matter what. AI, like, it's changed
Yeah.
all of us no matter what. And so we go through this path and then we jump to a new path, or we jump to a new feeling of it. So we keep mastering things. We're the expert in it. And then, you know what? There's something over here that's adjacent. I'm going to jump. So we keep having these feelings of, am I enough? Right. And so I think that's a natural feeling for where we are in the world right now. I totally forgot though where we in the concern for perfectionism, but I totally forgot the direction we were going in with this. So please help me
Well,
out.
no. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. I guess part of it was that, like, there's just too much fake right
The
now,
fake, right?
right?
Right.
And I mean, AI and all these kinds of, there's a lot of fake. Like, there's never
Yeah.
been more fake right now. The other thing I want to tag on to this, just to finish up this thought, is generationally, we see younger people coming into the workforce claiming to be experts at a very young age. And then the older person in me goes, ooh, like, and again, might be my filters, my kind of thing, you know. So talk about that fakeness. Talk about, maybe unearned expertise. I don't know, like, I don't know, and where maybe the line. How do we know if we cross the line? That kind of thing.
I remember a friend, she was working at a very big philanthropic, like charity and she became the CEO. And she was maybe in her 50s. So she was a youngish CEO, maybe 40s, 50s. Um, and she said right away, yeah, and we hired somebody and they right away, they're, right out of school and they think they should be the CEO. So I think that kind of thing has been going on for a long time where young people think that they should be the CEO right away. I think though now we just see people on social media who are presenting as if they are the CEO and they're showing all the trappings and when they haven't earned their stripes. So I think there's part of it. I think part of it is the older generation though thinks that everyone has to earn even more stripes than what they actually needed to have. So it's a mix of all of it. I think that a lot of the things are still the same as they ever were, but social media amplifies over and over again what we're trying to see and what we're looking at. I think so many people ask me about the generational question because they think every young person's really good at social media and that social media is going to amplify them out to the right places, but they're not. A lot of them, especially socioeconomic, if you are from lesser means, you're taught to not, you color within the lines, you don't break the rules, you stay where you are. be that hidden gem, make sure that you outwork everyone else. So you have these social norms that you don't want to break. And so that a lot of young people still are in that where they'll overwork. So we, it's not, we can't generalize. It's so really intersectional on all of this. I think what some of the people, what a lot of people are getting to be good at though, is showing that they are the person that should be seen and heard. It's the problem is when you can't back it up. And we're seeing that in the speaking industry, for example, has become under fire recently, where a lot of people, and I think I'm bringing this up because I'm working on my demo tape. So a lot of people will have these really beautiful demo tapes, and then they get the stages that the demo tape shows that they've already been on, and they haven't ever been almost on any stage.
The sizzle
So
reel was all sizzle, no steak, right? Like, yeah.
yes. And so that's happening over and over again. And so are you able to follow up? And people know each other and people talk. And so are you able to then deliver? And people are asking for more metrics to say, well, can you actually deliver this? Who have you delivered to? What kind of audiences? And
Mhm.
so that's where the fake it till you make it kind of part nowadays dissolves pretty fast because when you get to that level and you aren't able to deliver, people can see that. And I think people will call you out more on it. So I'm not a big fake it till you make it. I do believe in the power pose where you stand with your hands on the
Sure.
hips. That I think gets you going. But
Physiological. Yeah.
yeah, but the fake
Yeah.
it till you make it, I think all of us are trying new things. You can't wait till you're ready. We're all having courage, but I don't think that you want to mislead anyone. I think it's all, is this of service? Am I, serving the world? But on the flip side, I don't want people to hold themselves back waiting
Mhm.
to be ready. Because when is ready nowadays? Because everything keeps moving so fast. So it's a whole balance in there of where am I going? So it's having a little
Yeah.
bit more belief in yourself,
Yeah.
but also not putting yourself way out there that you think I should be the CEO of this huge charity today. And
Right.
instead of realizing I still have some work to do, but I want people to still put themselves out there to get the opportunities because so many people wait too long.
Yeah. Well, and what came up for me when you're talking about that was almost this, people who, have not done the work, let's say, trying to shortcut in a place where it's like, hey, I'm going to get there now. And then that falls apart. But the people that really need to, read your book and dig into this are the people who are actually going the long way, like that like there is a shortcut for them if they want to take it, and it's an earned shortcut,
That's a
right? Like
beautiful
it's
way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of, and the majority of people are going to have their head down waiting for their work to be noted, right? And so that is the long way, you know?
It's the long, long way. I just want people to have that little bit of here's the path, here's how to get going faster, but you're already the expert. Now let's move forward with letting
Yeah.
people know because it's being of service. And the more we're of service, the more success begets success. So show
Yeah.
the success you have, and then you'll get more success. And then show some more success, and then you'll get more success. And hey, I'm, shoemaker's children here. I need to constantly come back to my work and my book and to make sure that I am seen and heard because I get so busy doing the things that
Yeah.
I don't put myself out there as much as I should. I'm fortunate now, though, so many people come back and say, I've read Lisa's book. I had Lisa on our stage, and they're amplifying me. So I am so grateful for that. Braggitude
Gratitude.
right there, where that's a great thing. But I also have to keep giving it lift so that people can see where am I going for next year and the year after so they can remember me to invite me to those next stages and next opportunities.
What a great segue to say, how can people reach out to you? How can people get your book? Yeah. So plug yourself right there. Do your
Oh.
brag.
Oh, I have so many things to say. You
Yeah.
know what? I would just love to be of service. And the first place to start is buying my book. It's available everywhere you'd like to buy a book. So that's the first place. My website is lisabragg.com. It has so much on there that, hopefully is of service to you. And then I'm available for speaking, and I work a lot with organizations to help their teams be seen and heard because of that 1.2 million, no, hang on, it's now $2 trillion problem of having our teams not seen and heard. And so I go into corporations and help them with that. But love to be on stage and to talk with people, and love to do live coaching as we're on stage and talk about bragging and self-promotion, what it means to their organization. So just to get back to a point you made, I love being that cheerleader. So if you can blame me for your bragging and self-promotion, I would love it, because I'm that cheerleader in your head wanting you to be seen and be heard. So yeah, I'm also on LinkedIn. If you say that you heard me on this podcast, we're definitely going to become connected. So thank you.
Awesome. Lisa, I said before we started recording, I said, we're shooting for half an hour, but like that just went right out the window, because it's just like I was having a good time, and I feel like we could probably do a lot longer. So we might have to do this again sometime. So lot of synergy, like you said. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Happy to. Your questions were great. So, and I love it when it's a conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for being here, Lisa. I had a wonderful time, and I took stuff away from it too, because I have some old school, like my dad's voice in my head. Even though I've been a shameless self-promoter all my life, I still have a bit of that, right? So, I took that away.
Yeah, you are a visionary.
Oh, I got to wrap my head around that one. Okay, thank you, Lisa, and thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in once again. And until next time, you know what to do. Stay engaged.
Thank you so much for listening to Engaging Personalities. If you believe this world needs more engagement and you're an industry leader, or you have an interesting take on rehumanizing business, go to go.engagify.ai/podcast-guest to apply and come on the show. If you got something out of this interview, do you mind sharing it on your social media? Just grab a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend, or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show. Include the hashtag Engaging Personalities. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episode, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, engagify.ai, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and stay engaged.